Good morning, everyone. I'm Sarah from Sourdough for Beginners. We ended up with a snow day today. There's ice everywhere. I actually fell and banged my nose, so ignore that. But it's really slippery, and everyone's home. And I've got my little one, my stepdaughter, here with me today, and I promised her that we can make pancakes. So I've got the bacon all cooked, and I've got a loaf of bread sitting in my new Bannetons that I'm going to get into the oven, and then we're going to make the most decadent discard pancakes you've ever seen. So I picked up these Bannetons off of Amazon. They're silicone, and I've got a loaf in them. So before I start the pancakes with Madison, I am going to get this in the oven. So my Dutch oven's been in the oven for about 45 minutes. It's preheated, it's ready to go. So now all I have to do is tip this bread out of the Banneton and get it into the Dutch oven. I'll let it cook for 30 minutes with the lid on. I might check it at about 15 minutes and possibly redo a hot score, so recut my score. And then I'll cook it for another 20 minutes with the lid off, and then just keep checking it until it hits 205 degrees Fahrenheit. So I made this bread using the level 2 hydration beginner bread recipe. In this video, I've linked the discard pancake recipe, the link to this Banneton, the Sourdough Essentials ebook that we recommend all beginners start with, and our link tree, which has all of our tutorials. So in our tutorials list, you'll find the beginner bread recipe and then the level 2 hydration beginner bread recipe. So if you're interested in those, you'll be able to find them in the description of the video. So this bread was mixed a couple of days ago with the level 2 hydration recipe. It was stretched and folded. It was bulk proofed on the counter in containers, and then it was pre-shaped and shaped, and I popped it into these Bannetons. And when I put it in, I took a picture of how it looked. I'll post that in the comments after I end the live, but it's risen and ready to go. So let me just show you the process of getting a loaf into the oven, and then Madison's going to come join me, and we're going to make some pancakes together. So I've got some parchment paper out. Let's just tilt this a little so you can see it. So I've got some parchment paper out. My Dutch oven's preheating in the oven. So I'm just going to put a little bit of flour onto my parchment paper here. I'm just using regular all-purpose flour. I'm going to take the plastic wrap off the top of my Banneton. And then what I'm going to do is tip this bread out onto the parchment paper. So these Bannetons are brand new. This is actually my first time using them. I picked them up from Amazon. It actually looks kind of cute. I'm not unhappy with this. So I've got the nice lines on my bread. Good to go. So I'm just going to do a very simple score today, just so that we can get onto the pancakes, because Sweet Madison, who has been asking me every 35 seconds for the past 15 minutes, can we make pancakes now? Can we make pancakes now? So we're going to do that. So if you want to see the whole process of making bread, then you can definitely find those videos in the links in the description of the video. Cold proofing is an optional step. I often recommend that beginners skip it until they've mastered the essential processes. So start with a low hydration beginner bread recipe, start to understand what the processes are, how they work, what they're doing, when they happen, get them in order, start getting some really good loaves, and then start adding in optional or advanced processes. So cold proofing is an optional process. It does put some more rise into the bread. It does increase the flavor over time, but it's not necessarily an essential process. So I haven't actually ever shown it before on any of my videos. So what I've done is I've floured my parchment paper. I've put some flour on top of my loaf, and now I'm just going to put a simple functional score. So I'm going to go about parallel to the counter, and I'm going to go about a centimeter deep or half an inch deep for that score. And this score is going to be the functional score that's going to create the ear on the bread, let the steam escape, and assist with oven spring. And then I'm just going to put a few pretty little lines on here just for design. So these are not functional scores, although they will contribute to spring. They're just for show. So there we go. So you can see that big score. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop my Dutch oven out of the oven. So in my oven right now, it's at 450. That's the max my oven goes at. I keep it at 450 all the time. My Dutch oven's on the top rack. On the rack underneath it, I've got a tray of water. And I keep that tray of water in there for all but the last 10 minutes just to protect the bottom of the bread and keep it from getting too hard. So, whew, that is hot. Caught me right in the face. Who else melts their mascara sometimes when they go too fast into the oven? So here's my Dutch oven. I'm just going to get the lid off. It's just basic and good to go. And then I'm going to take a little bit of tin foil that's crinkled up, and I'm going to set it in the bottom of the Dutch oven. I think that just elevates the bread just a tiny bit and keeps it from getting hard on the bottom. On my YouTube channel, there's a video that shows about trying to keep your bread soft. So here we go. We've got our bread. We're just going to use the parchment paper as a sling and try not to burn ourselves and plunk this bread into the Dutch oven. So there we are. I'm just going to pop the lid on and stick this in the oven for 30 minutes. So it's 9:17. So around 9:27, if I remember, I might pull it out, and if it's not starting to rise really well where the score line was, then I'll just take my razor and rescore it again just to encourage that spring that happens from the functional score to occur. And then 9:17, so 27:37. So at 9:47, I'm going to pull the bread out, take the lid off, and then continue baking it for another 20 minutes. I'll pop that tray of water that's on the bottom rack underneath, and then I'll just let it keep cooking until it reaches 205 degrees. I just use like a cheap temp thermometer. I'll put like a whole list of all the basic Amazon tools that I use, even though they're not necessary, so that if you wanted to get some stuff, you could. Good morning from Quebec. Love your tutorials. Let's see. Everything is very well explained without being too complicated. Where can I find your discard chocolate chip cookies? I don't have those up yet, Kathy. They're on my computer. I'm working on them right now. I'm creating an ebook with like 15 discard recipes in it, but chocolate chip cookies are pretty easy, and I'll get you that really soon. Maddie, you want to come make some pancakes now, buddy? Okay, Madison's coming. So this is the decadent discard pancake recipe, and this is my little buddy Madison, and she's going to help me mix. She's a great baker. We do lots of baking, don't we? So we're going to start with the wet ingredients first. So we need 1 cup of sourdough discard. So I didn't actually have any old discard in my fridge, so I'm just going to use active starter, but they work just fine. So the way Maddie and I usually do it is I'll scoop stuff for her, and then she'll get it dumped in. So let's get a cup of this out, Maddie. Dump that in there. There we go. All right, so you take that, get it in the bowl. So after 1 cup of discard, the next thing we're going to put in is 2 eggs. Maddie's egg breaking skills are pretty epic. So after I'm done this, what I'll do is I'll just refeed my starter, let it rise, and then pop it back in the fridge until I need it next. How's your scraping skills? Let's see. So we'll take this. We'll let that go. So usually if you're using discard in a pancake recipe, your starter's a little bit more watery, but this is active discard, which is also just fine. So there we go. All right, can you break those 2 eggs into there for me, please? Yeah. And if you are new to discard, one thing you'll learn very quickly, either the easy way or the hard way, is that if you're using, not new to discard, new to sourdough, whatever you're doing, you should rinse your dishes as fast as possible because flour and water become glue almost instantly. Good job. Oh, do you need a hand wiper? Well, how about you get that other one in first, and then we'll wipe our hand. Did we get any shells in there? Nope. Looks totally good. Woo! Good job. Ooh, take it out. Luckily, it's just the fam jam eating it, so we're good. Okay, so now we have 1 cup of discard and 2 eggs, and we need 1 cup of milk. But we just used, actually, we can use our cup because I've rinsed it. So if you hold this, I'll pour, okay? Hold it steady. I think this milk's going to run out and we're going to have to open another one. Yeah. All right. Now with these pancakes, you can make them whatever thickness you like. You might want to adjust your milk up or down. What I usually do is just mix it according to the recipe, and then I'll just add a little bit of milk if I need to. I like to keep my pancakes nice and thin so that they cook up like the kind of flapjacks I like, but I know that pancake batter consistency varies for everybody. Okay, we need 1/4 cup of sugar. So this is when these pancakes start getting decadent. I mean, you can make pancakes with just flour and water, no problem. But I'm going to scoop that out. Scoop out, stick that in there, and scoop 1/4 cup. But we actually put sugar, vanilla, and maple syrup. That's good. Dump it in our pancakes to make them sweeter. So, and we just want to keep our eye on the time because we've got bread in too, and we're going to check that in a minute and make sure that our score is doing well. In the Sourdough for Beginners page, there's lots of things about scoring and everything else. Okay, we need 1 tablespoon of maple syrup. So let's find our tablespoon. Here's this one. Okay, are you ready? So we've got sugar, maple syrup, dump that in. What's pancakes without maple syrup, especially since we're Canadian, right? And we need 2 teaspoons of vanilla. So plunk that down and take this one. There we go. 1, 2. All right, and we need 4 tablespoons of melted butter. And I already had the butter melted. So let's grab it. It looks perfect, doesn't it? So why don't you take your spoon and scrape it out for me? This one. There we go. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to mix our wet ingredients together, get them nice and well mixed, and then we'll add in our dry ingredients. And like I said, this recipe, the discard recipe, I put it in the description of this video. So, and I am trying to keep an eye. If anybody's commenting and asking questions, please do. I'm trying to keep an eye on it. I'll try and answer, but if not, I can always go into the comments after the live, which will stay on the page for replay, and I can answer them then. All right, start giving her a stir. We're probably going to need our whisk. Yeah. You want to use the whisk instead? Yeah. Here, let me see this. Get all this stuff off. All right, try not to splash. And I'm going to get our cup dried so that we can use it to get flour. So while we're mixing, I'll just talk. So Sourdough for Beginners, some of you have seen some of my tutorials, some of you haven't, but my focus is that anybody can do sourdough. Absolutely anybody. I mean, we do it with the kids around here. And it doesn't matter if you don't have high quality flours. It doesn't matter if you don't have a ton of tools. We've set up a bunch of tutorials to try and keep it nice and simple and make it nice and easy so that anybody can say, you know what, I would like to have fresh bread for my family, and I'm just going to figure out how to do this. The beginner bread recipe is where we recommend most people start. The starter common questions is really helpful to people when they're first making a starter. We've got some dehydrated starter made out of mama, which you see in all of my discard recipes there on Etsy. You can find all of this stuff through the link tree with all of our tutorials. Let's see. Let me see if I can move my muscles a little. All right. So we've got our wet ingredients fairly mixed. So between the eggs and the discard and the thick maple syrup, you've really got to give this a good mix. But boy, it smells sweet. It smells good, hey? It smells like vanilla. Yeah. It's nice, isn't it? All right, so let's get rid of this. So now we're just going to add our dry ingredients, which we will stir with a spoon. So we need 2 cups of flour, Madison. You think you can scoop them? 1. Yeah, good job. Okay, dump that in. With pancakes, I really don't think you have to be super accurate. I always say with sourdough, if you only buy one tool and if you can afford it and you can get a scale, then get one. It just opens more doors for you. It makes things more accurate. But with pancakes, it's pretty laid back, so we don't have to worry about it too much. So 2 cups of flour, half a teaspoon of salt. So take this, half a teaspoon. And this is a little hard to pour, so I'm just going to go slow, okay? And hold your hand nice and steady. We don't want too much salt. Okay, there we go. And then we need 1 teaspoon each. Let's just dry this off. Of baking soda and baking powder. Do you want to open that for me? Careful. Good job. Okay, let's get 1 teaspoon of that. Okay, dump. And 1 teaspoon of this. Make sure it's nice and level. Shake it. Good job. All right, now try and stir that up for me. So now what we're going to do is we're going to blend those dry ingredients into our pancake mix, and then we're going to check the consistency, and if we need to, we'll add a little bit more milk. I like my pancakes to pour when I do them. Yeah, of course. Oh, they're seeming a little thick already. If our bowl isn't moving, then they might be a little thick. So while Maddie's stirring, I'm going to add a little bit of milk. There we go. Yep. I'll use my muscles if you use your muscles, okay?
Yeah.
Good job. Let's get some more milk in there. There we go. So ours are coming out kind of thick today because I used active starter straight out of the fridge, which is about the thickest kind of starter that there is. Let me see this for 1 sec. See these little arms. There we go. So we're just adding milk until we get to the consistency that we want. Maybe let's put a little bit more maple syrup in here. There we go. Nice and sweet. So these pancakes, once they're cooked, we'll eat the pancakes with some fruit and some bacon and some maple syrup. We're up here in Canada where syrup is our specialty, so the syrup we use is always pure maple syrup. It's probably made in Quebec. I saw someone earlier was commenting that they were in Quebec. Usually Quebec has tons of ice and we don't, but it seems icy here today. Let me see for 1 sec. Let's just check. All right, so I think maybe just a little more milk. I think we're good to go. So we like a nice watery consistency. Not watery, but I like it to be pourable. So let's just show the camera. Ready? There we go. So what we've got is kind of a chunky, lumpy pancake batter. So what are we at right now? 9:17 the bread went in. It's 9:29. I'm just going to pull it out and check the score. So Madison, I just want you to be careful, okay? Because this is going to be hot. So I'd like you to stay back. Yes. So our bread's been in for about 12 minutes. And I'll show you how it looks. Stand back for me, please. So see, it is starting to spring a little. It doesn't look like I'm going to lose my score, but I'm still just going to run my razor over it one more time just to encourage that spring. Here we go. So what did we say? Set 27, 37, 47. At 9:47, we want to make sure that we take the lid off that bread. So Madison, can you help me make sure I don't miss 9:47? See it on the microwave there? So we have 17 more minutes. Okay, let's make some pancakes. Let's slide you guys over so you can see how fun and lovely these are. Let's get rid of these. Are you going to help me with the cooking part too? Yeah. Yeah? Okay, we need to find our ladle. Maybe we can just pour. Let's see. So let's move these out of the way. These. Okay, let's put your stool over here. And what do we do when we're cooking and we're little? We make sure we don't burn ourselves, right? So let's just make sure we don't burn ourselves. Okay, so we're going to head over here, and Madison and I are going to cook some pancakes. So first things first, with pancakes, remember that we're focusing on decadent pancakes. We are going to use lots of butter when we cook these. And another thing we're going to do is make sure that we keep an eye on the pan and don't let it get too burny. Well, it would help if we turned the pan on, wouldn't it? All right. So we're just going to wait for that to heat up. Check the consistency of our pancake batter. We've already got our bacon ready. We'll get Madison's fruit. Let's see what we've got. Maddie and Lucky decided to go with pineapples and strawberries today to go with their pancakes. And Rick and I are probably going to have raspberries and maybe some strawberries with our pancakes, and of course some bacon. Okay, so let's go over this. So this is a sourdough discard pancake recipe. You can use either active starter or discard. It's got flour, water, sourdough starter. It's got maple syrup, sugar. It's got vanilla, salt, baking powder, baking soda. These are about as decadent as you can get with pancakes. And you can just throw them together. The recipe for the discard pancakes is linked in the description of this video. And I just lost Maddie. She always comes back once we get started. Her daddy just came out. She's going to watch some movies now. And at the same time, I've got bread in the oven that what was in a Banneton did cold proof overnight and is ready to go. So my pan's not that hot yet, but let's get a couple of pancakes going. So I'm just going to take this pancake batter and plunk it in the pan here. And I'm going to let these cook until two things happen. Pancakes, almost all the cooking happens on one side, so I'm just going to let these cook until they are dry around the edges and bubbly on top. So we're just going to wait for that. My pan's a little cool right now. It's going to get hotter as we go. But we'll start setting up Madison's plate. Let's just turn our bacon on here just a little bit. Madison, would you like your fruit beside your pancakes or on top of it? Beside. Madison, believe it or not, doesn't actually eat syrup on her pancakes. She likes, would you like Nutella on your pancakes? Yeah, that's what I thought. Everyone else in the house loves maple syrup, but Maddie's kind of on the fence about it. So Maddie's going to have some fruit. Oh, that's a little bit of a big fork for her. We'll put some fruit for Maddie. That's probably lots. Maybe we'll add a couple of raspberries for her. There you go. And then she's going to have a couple of pancakes, and we've got some bacon here. And what are we at for time? So 9:34, 17:27, 27:37, 47. So we've got 12 minutes until the lid comes off on our sourdough. Hi, Cam. I'm not a fan of maple syrup and use strawberry jam instead. Yeah, I mean, with pancakes, you can pretty much use anything you like. Madison's going to go with the Nutella today. I hope I didn't promise her something I can't produce, but I did not. Here we go. So when you make the discard recipe, the discard pancake recipe, you can make the thickness anything you like. My mom makes a very thick pancake batter, and her pancakes come out this thick, and they're like cakey in the middle and crispy, sort of almost black on the outside. Not black, but dark brown on the outside, and they're really good. I like the super thin pancakes like you get at like Denny's or those breakfast restaurants, so I like set up that discard recipe that's linked in the description of this video for like kind of what the average pancake consistency would be like. But if you watch, when I was mixing it, I end up just being like milk, 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 more milk, more milk, more milk until it's nice and thin. But it makes the pancakes cook nicely and makes them sort of have that restaurant feeling. So while we're waiting for the pancakes to cook, the Sourdough Essentials ebook focuses on how can we make this easy for a beginner. The idea is that when it comes to baking sourdough bread, there's basic essential processes, and everything else is either an advanced technique or optional. The basic essential processes are have your starter fed and either at or after peak, mix your starter and water together, add some flour and salt, mix those together, get to a shaggy dough. Let that sit for 30 minutes, stretch and fold, and then rest 30 minutes 3 to 4 times. Get your dough into a plastic, clear or glass, clear, straight-sided container. Let your dough bulk proof on the counter for 4 to 8 hours, however long it takes to get it to double. Dump it out, pre-shape it without any water or flour. Let it sit for 30 minutes, and then use water and flour to shape it, score it, and bake it. Everything else after that becomes an optional process. So creating a levain or doing coil folds or auto-leasing your flour and water or cold proofing, these are all good processes, but optional. And so, you know, when I started making sourdough, I was really having a tough time financially, and so I had to decide, like, could I afford this? And so I just bought the cheapest on sale all-purpose flour. I rescued a deli container that had pickles in it for my starter jar, and I used tap water and just started making a starter. And that continued for a really long time. For a really long time, I had no choice but to make sourdough economically. And so even though I know it's true that if you use better flours or more advanced processes, you can get better bread, but it shouldn't be a barrier to starting. So our pancakes now are bubbly on top, dry around the edges, so we're just going to give them a quick flip. So there we go, nice and lightly cooked. We're going to let those finish, and we shall get some bacon for Miss Madison. Maddie, would you like bacon with your pancakes? Would you like 1 or 2? Okay. I don't know if the rest of the world has this kind of bacon. I've been told that this kind of bacon is like purely a Canadian thing, but I don't know. We'll see. Let me know in the comments. Let me know. Maddie, you just want me to spread Nutella right on top of these, right? Yes. Okay. All right, Maddie's almost ready to go with her pancakes. And how are we for time on the bread? 9:39. 8 more minutes till our lid comes off. So those Bannetons, I got them off Amazon. They're silicone. And I'll be honest, I'm going to post a picture in the comments. When I first put my dough into the Banneton, I thought the Banneton was way too big. Like the dough looked way too small in there. But I left it in the fridge for 36 hours, almost 48 hours, if I'm being honest. And by the time I folded out, it had expanded into the Banneton. And when I tipped the dough out, it had those nice lines on it. Like I'm really happy with them, and they were fairly inexpensive. It came in a 2-pack. So I got like an oval one and a round one. And they just like push down flat and go in the cupboard. I think theoretically you could even bake in them, but I like to either open bake or bake in a Dutch oven. So this set is good to go. So I'm going to get these onto the plate for Maddie. And I'm just going to, so one of the things when I'm making pancakes is I try not to let the pan get too hot or the butter burn too much. So I'll often just sort of give the pan a quick wipe before I start the next batch. So let's get lots of butter in here. There we go. And we'll get a couple of pancakes going. There we go. Good. If I was taking pictures of this for a video, I probably would make them pretty, but when we're just going to eat as a family, then we don't necessarily need them to be super pretty. So here we go. Maddie style pancakes, ready to go. Inshallah, bacon. Madison? Daddy, do you think you could come get this plate for Madison and bring it out? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stay on for 6 more minutes until you see this bread come out and keep on cooking these pancakes. If you want to stick around to see what the bread looks like after 30 minutes, then we'll talk about how to get the bread finished cooking and cooling and everything else. I did an experiment the other day where I cut into a loaf immediately after it was out of the oven. Not only did I burn my finger, like a lot, but the bread just fell apart. It was blowing steam everywhere. It was super gummy. It was crazy. So I definitely don't recommend that. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull our bread out, take the lid off, and maybe rotate the Dutch oven, pop it back in, let it go for about 20 minutes. After 20 minutes, I'm going to pull the tray of water that's on the rack underneath my Dutch oven out so that the bottom of the bread can just get sort of a little bit, last bit of cooking on it. And then after about 5 minutes, I'll start checking the bread with my instant read thermometer. And I like to let my bread cook fully until it's at 205. These pancakes, so with the pancakes, like I said, just wait for them to get dry around the edges and bubble on the inside, give them a flip, and then they only take another minute or so. So we'll get a plate set up for Rick in just a minute here. I'm going to give Rick some raspberries and maybe a little bit of Madison's fruit, if I can open this thing. Oh, that's my problem. I was trying to open the one that wasn't open yet. Here we go. There we go. All right, so these are pretty close to being good to go. There's bubbles on top. They're sort of drier on the edges. I'm going to flip them in just a second. And Rick likes his with maple syrup. So let's give these a flip. Whew, I splattered that one a little, but there you go. Nice pretty pancakes. 9:44, 3 minutes until 2017 it went in. 27, 37, 47. 3 minutes, we'll pull that bread out. I made a huge mess today, but that's okay. Let's grab some bacon. Just like to drain some of the grease off this bacon. There we go. Now with this discard pancake recipe, if you made too much, you can put it in a jar and put it in the fridge, and it'll keep for about 2 or 3 days. I wouldn't let it go too much longer because there's eggs in there, and you know, we just don't want it to go bad. But I made a huge batch today. I made the full batch, and it's just Rick and Madison and I eating today. Lexi might have maybe one, maybe. So it's way too much for what we need. So I'll just pop it in the fridge and make them again in a day or two. So these are pretty good. So there's the top side, there's the underside. So I'm happy with those. Get those served to Rick. Pull this bacon out. There we go. So just like last time, I'm just going to wipe my pan out a little. I just don't like the butter to start burning while I'm cooking the pancakes, because then your pancakes start to get really dark. And you don't want that. So let's throw some pancake mix in here. Start mixing mine. Ricky, would you like to come grab your pancakes? All right, so I'm just going to give Rick some butter. He likes lots on his. Come on, Rick. Here we go. This is ready. 9:46, so we're going to pull that bread out. So here's Ricky's nice Canadian maple syrup. There we go. All right, so let's pull this bread out and get the lid off. And my challenge right now is going to be where I'm going to put that very hot lid. I try not to put it on my counter because I'm afraid of burning my counter. So, pull this out. We will get this lid off and just put it here for now. So it's coming along nicely. There we go. Our ear's coming up. So this one was 75% bleached all-purpose and 25% spelt. Okay, so like I said, I'll go into the comments after this video. This video will post and you can replay it. I'll make sure that the recipe for the discard pancakes is easy to find. I set up the description of this video when I first started it with the discard pancake recipe, the ebook, and the link to all of our tutorials. And if you've got any questions, definitely post them in the comments, whether I'm live now or whether it's later, because I can definitely do my best to help you. But I think this was fun, and I appreciate all of you being here. Like I said, I'm Sarah from Sourdough for Beginners, and I'm going to go eat my pancakes now. So have a good day. See you later. Bye.